Hi, welcome to Convention Cooking with Consuetie. I'm Liz, your hospitality department head at Conquest, Kansas City's annual science fiction convention, which is sponsored by the Kansas City Science Fiction and Fantasy Society, also known as CACSFS. At Conquest, we like to feed our staff and dealers tasty and nutritious meals throughout the convention. And today, we're going to have build your own burrito or taco or bowl. And I'm going to use the slow cooker. You can use an Instapot or do it on the stovetop or in the oven, whichever is your preference. And honestly, you can use any protein that you want. I'm going to be using chicken leg quarters, also known as pinwheels, because I had them in the freezer. But I have done this with a beef roast, and I've also done it with pork shoulder. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to skin the chicken, because inside the chicken is inside the chicken skin, that is, there's a lot of fat, and I really don't like to have a dish and see a great big inch or two of fat floating on top. That's just not appetizing to me. I try to eat as healthy as possible. So I am going to get this chicken skin started, and then I'm going to just peel it off. See how easy that is? I'm going to get it out of my way, and then I'm going to trim the fat off as well. Now, if you don't get it all, that's okay, because some fat is healthy for you. A lot of fat, not so much. This segment of the video is sped up to breeze through the chicken trimming process. It's much easier to remove the fat now rather than attempt to skim it from the top when cooking is complete. Diddly-doo, 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 diddly-doo. All right, I've got my 3 pinwheels skinned and kind of defatted a bit. Now I'm gonna work on the seasoning. Honestly, if you don't want to go to all this work of skinning the meat, you can just use boneless, skinless chicken breasts or chicken thighs if that's your druther. But these happen to be on sale for an insane price, so it's what was in the freezer. I am going to step off camera for a second and grab my measuring items. So, having not done this before myself, usually Luke is the cook. I'm going to use some carne adobada mix, which is a spice mix of chiles, onion, garlic, salt, and oregano. So I'm just going to put, it's about 3 pounds of meat. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons in there. I'm going to add a little bit of water from my water pitcher. And I'm going to mix it up. And then I'm going to taste it to see if it needs to add anything. I think it needs a little more. So I'm going to add a 2nd tablespoon. Now, I'm not one to over-season meat. I want to taste the meat. So, I know a lot of people like to marinate their steaks and chicken and all that sort of stuff, but I find that when I do that, I actually can't taste the meat itself. So I'd rather under-season something for a taco bar than over-season the meat for a taco bar, because you can always add more salsa. You can't take away that extra spice when you get there. So, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to pick up the chicken. Sorry, I don't want to have to wash my hands again. And put them in the crock pot. And And then I'm gonna add a little bit more water so that the chicken are covered. Water helps conduct the heat. I know, that's kind of sciencey, isn't it? But we can. There we go. It's mostly covered, not quite fully covered, but mostly covered. So now I'm going to cover the crock pot and turn it on high. And we will see how this turns out. Hi, it's been about 3 hours. The chicken is falling off the bone. And I'm going to measure the temperature just to be safe. Food safe for chicken is 180 and this is at 192. Let's try this other thigh. 200. I'd say we were done. So I'm going to pull it out and let it cool off before I debone it. Ooh. It is really falling apart as I try to pick it up. Still some smaller pieces in there that I will filter out later. But I'm also going to go ahead and grab up some of this liquid and I'm going to reduce it on the stove. To kind of make a sauce for the chicken. See you in a bit. Hi, the chicken's cooled off a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and start pulling. As you can see, it really does fall right off the bone. And I think I messed up. I think I want this to be my bone bowl. And this to be my keep bowl. So you don't want it to cool off too much because you want your food to remain at a serving temperature. Whew. It's warm. Yeah, so I've got the liquid from the crock pot in a saucepan on the stove, boiling and reducing. That's hot stuff. And I am wearing gloves because I don't want peppers in my skin because then I'll touch my eye and ow, it will hurt. And I don't like to touch food that other people are going to eat. So I'm just pulling out the knuckles. Wow, this stuff really is falling off the bone. Which is great. That's what you want to see. Hot stuff. Hi, I'm done deboning the chicken, but one of the things that I need to do is, you can see this is a really long fiber and nobody wants to have a really long fiber like that in their food. So I'm going to go ahead and give this stuff a rough chop. And it'll let me see if I really got all the cartilage out. One thing I forgot to mention was that off camera, I went ahead and put the liquid that I'd pulled out and put into the saucepan, put it back into the crock pot, and then I strained it. You can see that there's quite a lot of solid material. That's from the the great seasoning I used. It's pretty chunky, and so I didn't want those chunks in my sauce. But just gonna grind this up, chop this up, not grind, just to break up the fibers. Do 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 do. I'm going to put it back in the bowl. And now we got these nice shredded chicken ready to eat. Now you don't have to cook down the liquid. This stuff, I'm sure, tastes great just as it is. In fact, I think I'm going to taste it. Pretty good. But I do want to put the sauce on it. Hi, I'm back. It took longer than I expected to reduce that sauce. Turns out that I did not need to put so much water in it. My prep chef was telling me that off camera. So I reduced, what was it, at least 4 cups of liquid down to about half a cup. I'm not going to use all of this, but you want to put some on it just enough to make it moist, right? So that it doesn't dry out. And in case you were curious, I started with 3 pounds of the chicken pinwheels. And after skinning, cooking, and deboning, I ended up with 1 pound of cooked meat. What else was I going to say? Oh, so if you're going to be using something like a pork shoulder, it's got a bigger mass, and it's going to take longer to cook in the crock pot. So instead of 3 hours on high, it could be more like 7 hours on high. So this looks tasty, and even though it's cold, I'm going to try a bite to see if I got enough of the seasoning. That's good. I was ready for a burrito. And then you can reserve the remaining sauce that you didn't use to season your burrito or like sprinkle it on top after you make it. Well, thank you for tuning in to Convention Cooking with Consuetie. I am Liz, your Consuetie from Conquest, Kansas City's science fiction convention. I hope to see you all at Conquest 52 virtually. Please check us out at conquestkc.org. See you soon. Doodle-doo, 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 doodle-doo.